Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul, and we are
SP Film Viewers.
Now, I know in the past, when we've covered trilogies before, we've kind of done a big bunk on them.
And then you make me hate them. Like
and then
Back to the Future.
We all cram them into one episode, but those have normally been where we've kind of spaced them out like over a few days rather than like trying to watch them all in one sitting or whatever, and then kind of do it collectively, give our thoughts on them.
Yeah.
But for this one, I wanted to try something a bit different, and I think it kind of makes sense based on what the trilogy is about. So, if people don't know, there's a particular trilogy from the Criterion collection.
You bum that, don't you? Oh, it's Criterion. It's like Michelin star or something like that.
Yeah, of the high standard of...
Didn't even know what the word was until I met you.
No.
Sorry. Carry on.
And that is the Before Trilogy. So it's 3 films by Richard Linklater? Linklater? So,
Linklater.
Yeah. Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. And it's a sort of like 3-part romance trilogy.
I'm liking this trilogy.
Yeah.
And it's thought out to be a trilogy, so I have faith. Yeah, it's not like Indiana Jones where they're like, oh, let's just throw a 4th one in there and it's absolutely shite.
No.
Just for money.
Yeah.
And Back to the Future as well is one of it, and Home Alone.
Yeah.
All of these ways, I feel like this is actually being thought
it's like a story,
about.
a story of relationship that goes on through the years, like almost like a TV series where, obviously there's enough time to break it down with enough emotion and whatever's involved to drive the story along, to draw the audience in. And it's something I wanted to see for a long time. And it's like, rather than trying to do it all in one go, I thought what we'll do is we'll start with Before Sunrise,
the beginning
of the year. Then somewhere in the middle of this year, we'll come to Before Sunset. Then at the back end of the year, or just before Christmas maybe, come to Before Midnight.
Is that when they die?
I've no idea.
Like up together or something that makes you cry. So we've got fond of
them. I don't know.
Well, what else happens at midnight?
Go to sleep.
Yeah.
Maybe not forever, but...
I'm looking forward to it. I just don't want to get too attached and then be devastated by the end of the year and be slapping you because...
I get you.
Because I feel like this is going to be something like ours. Like, when you start a relationship, it's nice and shiny and it blooms and there's the romance, and then normal life kicks in and the boring mundane.
Then you drift apart after spending... Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't mean like that, Paul, since I said that it was like us.
No, but I thought that's where you were going with the idea. No, not specifically us. I'm just meaning how...
I don't mean drift apart.
For the dramatic effect of what the story's going to bring.
I think it's more like the daily struggle of life, like kind of...
Gets in the way.
Yeah, like how initially you are in first love, kind of, that's the most important thing. And then it's like, oh, I need a job, I need a baby, and all these other things come into it. That's what I'm meaning, where they grow together and die together. Okay. That's my prediction. Well, can I ask, are we having a pre-ramble then before every one?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. We won't just go into the thing, because obviously I want to read the sort of the synopsis beforehand.
Of each one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll start with the synopsis of this one. While travelling on a train in Europe, Jesse, an American man, meets Celine, a French woman. On his last day in Europe before returning to the US, he decides to spend his remaining hours with her.
Ah. Does she move to America? Do they carry the relationship on? Clearly they do, because there's a trilogy, so you already know they've got something going on.
I'm kind of going in blind a little bit, really, which is kind of how I want to keep it, really, as to how what's involved I kind of maybe have them sort of like, obviously it's
I love how you buy these things and then you don't even know what it's about just because it's Criterion. It's like, oh, this...
No, it's not always about it. It's obviously what other people from the either YouTube community or just on reviews from others on Instagram and posts and stuff. And it's like, oh, that sounds really interesting. Get suckered in, I know. Sometimes.
You do. Then all these just DVD, Blu-ray, 4K parcels arrive. It's like,
no more DVDs.
Oh, oh, sorry, that's beneath you. I see.
I absolutely cannot get.
I'm just going to get you loads of DVDs for your birthday now and be like, here you go, Paul. Look how many DVDs you can get for one 4K.
There's a reason for that.
Such a snob.
Maybe. Well, but I've got a good feeling about going through these, so.
I hope so. Initial one seems like what I need this week anyways, which is light romance, light-hearted, not too much. Maybe you might get 10 if it's if you're lucky, because it has been
here's hoping
bleak this year.
So far, yeah. We're in February now, so
the love and romance is in the air.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then it dwindles out, as Paul says. Well, we haven't even been married 6 months yet, Paul.
I'm not saying ours is gonna.
But I said it was like ours, and you said, oh, yeah, it drifts apart.
I was meaning in the context of the films, how the film might play out. Not.
He's trying to dig his own grave out of it now, isn't he? Let's see if he survives.
Survive to Halloween, and then
then I'll bury you.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to watch any scary films.
Okay, well, we'll be back shortly with our thoughts on Before Sunrise.
Dring, dring. Dring, dring. Pick up.
What?
Pick up the phone.
Hello?
Allô? Vanny, c'est Céline.
Ah,
Comment ça va?
ça va bien. Et toi?
Il m'est arrivé quelque chose d'incroyable.
I've been working on my English recently. You want to talk in English just for laughs?
Yeah, okay. That's a good idea. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it for lunch today. I'm sorry. I met a guy on the train and I got off with him in Vienna. We're still there.
Are you crazy?
Probably.
And we're back. Sun is shining for a change.
It feels spring-like, and I know I'm saying that, and it's just such a British thing to say, oh, spring's coming, and then the week after we'll get loads of snow and we'll be in minuses and such like that. But today is a lovely, lovely sunny day.
As we're recording this, yeah. And sat inside, but, got to be done.
And then we promised you'll let me go out.
Yeah. To your garden, yeah. So, what did we make of Before Sunrise?
I don't know. Initially, when we were you were telling me about it, it was like, oh, it's a trilogy. I'm not looking forward to a trilogy. But by the end of this, and the first time I'd watched it, first of all, it's a romance. I don't think we've watched a romance trilogy before. I don't really think that's a thing.
No, first time I've heard of that being a
And
thing.
That's a bonus for me, because obviously it's something I've never seen before. I'd come from me rom-coms initially. It's not a cheesy rom-com, though. This is, really lovely.
Real conversations, I suppose.
Well, yes and no. I think some of it you do think, well, in that situation, if I forgot her name.
Celine. Played by Julie Delphi.
She's beautiful. She's literally so pretty. But she's on a train and this randomer comes and talks to her. I don't think I'd be getting off on that train with them. Even if it was you, if you approach me going, oh, do you want to go spend? I'd be like, no, you're all right.
I don't think I have the confidence to do that. As much as I, in my head, thinking, yeah, I'd well love to be able to just do that. I'd be like, would you like to go? And maybe it's just looking at my feet.
Oh, bless you.
I know I would, so.
But I would say no, because I'm thinking he's going to chop me up in his van or something ridiculous. That's where my head would go. I wouldn't be trusting you and thinking, oh yeah, I'll just get off in a city that I don't know with a random stranger. So some aspects, I don't think, just like a normal rom-com, It's just played on a little bit for a film perspective.
I know that, but I'm talking about more like the dialogue that they have between the two of them. Not just on that front, more like what they're talking about, obviously, like mortality and various other things.
I think,
as we'll get into, but
it's definitely for their age. Like, Celine is only 23. What she's talking about, and she seems more cultured, more worldly wide, and kind of an old soul.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think this was when, once we'd finished, it was like, it did leave me wondering, I want to see the next trilogy now, already. And now, annoyingly, you've gone, oh, we're going to see that in the summer or something like that, because we're wanting to put these trilogies out. And I'm like, I could literally just put it on and want to see what happens next, because of how it's left.
Kind of ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, so I feel like you screwing me over here a little bit, if I'm completely honest, because I actually really enjoyed it. It was like one of those nice love stories. It kind of reminded me of Up a little bit, like how they meet when they're youngish, obviously not as children-like, but more innocent and naive to the world and fresh-eyed.
Yeah.
To then, I'm assuming, when they get older, they're going to be a little bit more cynical and a bit more... the world's kind of beating them down a bit.
Even when you're like in your 20s, you kind of a bit more freedom and a bit more energised, I suppose, also, I guess, to be going, like, travelling the world, and you have a bit more freedom to do that, whereas it depends on what kind of job you're tied down to, obviously, to have that
but also
long,
money is an aspect as well, like, it depends on what your parents...
You live in situations before, prior.
Because, like, they do have a lot of conversations about the parents, and it seems like Jesse's parents are divorced, so I feel like Jesse's upbringing is a bit more me, because his parents are divorced, they didn't get along, he was a mistake. I don't think I was a mistake, actually, but he seems to get along with his parents as well, but kind of at the same time he's challenges them and he's free.
Yeah.
Whereas Celine her parents are still together like yours are, which is a rarity. Like, that is, like, now, sad to say, it is rare that your parents are still together. And they've done really well for her, but they've kind of manipulated her to thinking, oh, well, you should have been a lawyer, or like, oh, I want to be a writer. Well, you can be a journalist.
Yeah.
And putting her into a profession instead of actually something creative, which I feel like that's kind of you.
That is kind of me, It's like, put your aspects into something that's really, like, what's going to be... what you want to do, but be safe about it, really.
And I think for you as well, it was like you really wanted to be artistic and creative.
I still do, yeah.
And it was hard for you at the beginning to find what you wanted.
Wasn't it just? I don't think it's any much easier now, to be honest.
No.
I can't imagine, but...
And that's what the annoying thing about it is, because these boring, mundane jobs are easier to get, and they're more stable, and they give you more money, but at the same time, are you happy doing them? Because you're going to be doing them 5 days a week. And I think this is where you kind of realise in your early 20s, I don't think in your 20s you've got anything figured out. They're quite hard, actually, your 20s. Because you're meant to be an adult, and you're meant to have...
Yeah, you've just gone over 18, 21, depending on... obviously with the state thing, with the drinking and stuff, I know it's by the by, but you feel like... Yeah, you've got you are an adult now. You're a young adult, in that sense.
But I think you come out of university as well, and it's like, oh, you can do anything, you can be anything, and you kind of get this bubble of where everyone's encouraging you to be whatever you want, and then you come out to the real world, and it's like, oh crap, actually, no, I can't. Why did everyone say
that simple,
I could be anything I wanted, and then I'm trying my hardest, and I'm not getting anywhere because I don't have the experience and all of that. So. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the other one brings.
The other two,
bring, because I feel like we're on that journey already. We've done our 20s, so we've kind of seen that life span of us together. Because I think we were 21 when we started dating, for me anyways.
Yes, yeah.
So you'd been 23. So I kind of feel like seeing resemblances within the characters. Like, she said she's an old soul because she gets her palm read. And that would be something I would fall for.
You're
and I think
into that kind of spirituality stuff.
And you're more cynical.
Cynical like he is. It's like, just a quick, robbing you blind, basically, and just to say, oh, you want to hear the positive things. They never do. They never say anything really bad, do they? Unless it's like, oh, pay me more money, I'll make it better for you or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and even like with, I know we're flitting from certain scenes, but obviously within the day, they kind of bump into a creative homeless person, which I really like. Like, I do think this is something within our culture where people are, if they are in that situation, they're more likely to kind of dwell on it. Whereas I think Europeans are a bit more creative with how they live their lives. It just seems so much more.
Yeah, it's probably true. In fact, you might think the film's maybe glamorizing that a little bit more, maybe, but I'm pretty sure in that kind of culture, this is how they are. Really, you wouldn't see anybody writing poetry in the streets around here, would you?
No, and to get a few bucks, and I really appreciate that. Like that if somebody said that to me, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'm getting something out of it. So it's not just somebody going, oh, can I have money
to spend on?
And it's like, well, apart from me feeling good that I've been a good Samaritan, like, but have I? Because I don't even know if you're genuine anymore. You know,
exactly, yeah.
Whereas somebody going, I'll write you a poem. Well, I'm paying you to do something. It's keeping him feeling purposeful.
Exactly, yeah.
At the same time as everyone wins. And I thought that was beautiful. But you could see the scene where Celine was like, she proper felt it. And she was like, oh, wow. And then you could see Jesse kind of going.
Yeah, right,
yeah, I bet he has one of those just written already. He didn't even write that. He just put the word milkshake in. And yet again, the cynical side of Jesse coming out. And it'll be interesting because he's only 23, I think. Roughly the same age. Because we don't really know for sure how old he is. That how cynical he gets throughout the trilogy.
I have a feeling he might become a lot more cynical.
Because he's like Celine brings out the best in him. Depends on how that relationship goes, doesn't it? So yeah, I really enjoyed it because I could just see us as a young couple, not as confident as them.
No, but I could see the whole aspect of like walking around the streets, just kind of exploring and just going, oh, what's this cafe got to offer? Or kind of that kind of exploration that we would do on holidays and stuff. Yeah,
like nothing planned, just go around, have a look, and see what you stumble across. And that's what's amazing about kind of travelling. There was another scene where he mentioned about his grandma, which this was something where he showed his innocent side, I guess. So, like, his grandma had just passed away and they touched on death. And something like that, when you just first met somebody to speak about, you don't normally talk about that on your first encounter.
Not quite so openly, but...
And I feel like that's why you can see this chemistry between the two and that they actually feel like they've known each other for ages, that they're so comfortable.
Yeah, exactly comfortable about in talking about such open conversational pieces, yeah.
Death is a hard topic, though, and it's one of those things where he has got a spiritual side because he's on about seeing his grandma. And you can tell his parents have kicked it out of him a little bit because he said when he was squirting the hose pipe to put it up to the sun and you could see a rainbow and he saw his grandma in the mist. And he held it there for ages, and then he let go, and she disappeared. And I generally believe in that. And I think as the time's gone on, his parents have gone, don't be daft.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
And that's made him go the opposite way.
Yeah, but it shows that he's still got that element within himself to believe that it's not completely gone. So that's why he's maybe kind of drawn to her. Again, it's like rekindling that kind of...
Yeah.
The other spark that he needs, really, to bring that back into his life.
She's so beautiful, though, so simplistically beautiful, and I think that's the difference with her.
Yeah, it's not like she's super hot and everything, like, really over... Like you do in these typical rom-com stuff, and they look, like, overly, like, plastered with makeup.
American.
And just,
And you'd think that's what he'd want. Like, he looks like a bit of a sleazeball character with greasy hair. He looks like the type that could be a bit of a player and a bit...
Yeah, what does he... If you were her in that situation, would you be attracted to him? Does he seem like he's like, oh, he's
very charming.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would be wary.
Okay.
And she does bring that up, actually. Like, normally when you go into a relationship, it is like a war.
Yeah.
And you're listening to what other people say about them. You're trying to... Whereas this was nice because she didn't have anyone else to judge him. She could only judge him by what she could see. Because, like, I know when we first started dating, it was... You kind of look at each of the social media pages, you look at how other people are talking to you, you see what your friends interpret you as, and there's all of that.
Yeah.
And I know there was, initially when you first started dating, there's a lack of trust because you haven't got that. And literally
background check, yeah.
Yeah, you literally doubt people and you don't really know how sincere they are until you get to know that person. And I think, to me, I probably would, yes, he was very handsome and good looking, but at the same time I'm thinking, you're going to break my heart. And she actually does say that in a sense, because she doesn't want to be just a French girl that he sleeps with.
Just like a story for later down the line, yeah.
Yeah, and she says that, so that in itself shows that she thinks he's a bit of a player and a bit of a charmer just to get in her knickers, the way that she's saying it.
That he's kind of like, you know, they both kind of want to, by the end of this story, anyway, this chapter, it's kind of like, are they going to sleep together? Are they not going to sleep together? It's kind of like she's being a bit coy about it.
I would have respected her more if she hadn't. Because
yeah, I mean, that's another thing as well. That's kind of implied. You don't actually see the whole like ripping the clothes off kind of aspect.
It's nice though, isn't it?
That works well because it's like, obviously it's not in a sense of, well, when you cut to like when it's more of the sunrise, the more daylight. They kind of walk in the streets and she's not got her like white top on, so it's kind of like implied that they've done it.
Yeah, but if you could watch this with your children and they wouldn't even assume that, like, it wouldn't be.
I don't know about. I don't think there was much. Was there some F-bombs and stuff dropped in? I think.
Yeah, maybe, a couple, but it's like it's one of those slides. Yeah, I think, to be fair, but. Like
a 12-year-old or something, yeah.
But it wouldn't be like one of those things where it gets too raunchy that you're like, oh, I don't really want them seeing that.
No.
It's like, I think at an innocent level, it would go over their head.
Yeah, probably would. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
really.
Yeah, but I think that's an effective way of showing that it's kind of been intimate and not dwell on that too much. And it's like, yeah, that happened. And
and they both wanted it, and I think she kind of does really. I think she likes him a lot more than he likes her. I think this is a thing at the beginning. I always think that the girls fall faster.
Oh, okay. Is that based on your experience?
Our experience, yeah. But I do think it's true. I do think the girls know more. They make up their minds easier.
Whether they want to spend the time with them, to getting to know them.
Yeah.
Or not. Or
they can judge. I think they judge characters a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Than a man does. Yeah. And speaking of which, there's a lot of this in this film. Like, comparing a man to a woman within it, and she does that a lot. She even says about, obviously, after you've had sex, some insects eat the partner up, basically.
Yeah, like praying mantis and stuff like that, yeah.
And so she kind of shows that a woman is strong and independent, and that's what she really wants to be, and that's what the psychic says. And I quite like her natural rawness about wanting to be an independent woman, and I think that I said I wanted a woman-orientated film, and you gave me it. Yeah. I do think as well, I really like the character Celine a lot more than I do Jessie. I don't know if you agree.
I mean, I think they work well off one another, really. The chemistry's there, obviously. That's kind of what this trilogy is all about, really, I'd say. So it's got to have that believable, strong element of that to it. So I'm kind of like obviously like looking at myself in that situation. Obviously, like I said before, I'm not as confident as he would be talking to just a complete stranger, certainly from my 20s. But
no, you wouldn't even look at him.
No, don't ever do that now, to be honest. But even so, but
I know you're married.
I know that, but I'm just saying. But no, I kind of like him because he's kind of got that. He wants to like get to know her with the obviously. There's that shot where there's like that really long take when they're on the tram. Obviously like the back and forth they're having between just asking those questions about like what's your first sexual awakening experience type of thing and all those kind of things that are kind of quite personal.
Yeah.
Questions that he's trying to pry from.
I don't think I've asked you that in the 10 years we've been together.
But what I particularly like about that is that, like I say, that shot goes on for a very, very long time. There's no obvious breaks that I can see anyway that will have been cut to like, oh, sorry, I fumbled that line. So that shows particularly how good of an actors they are, that they both are, in doing that and maintaining that kind of like naturalistic way of just having a conversation and not like fumbling and going you know, that kind of stuff that might occur in real life. So it's really, I really respect how that's come across.
No, I agree with you, and it just feels like one of those things where they're just having a natter on the bus or a tram and they're just having a proper chat. Yeah. I do know me and you though, I don't really like talking on a bus or a train. Yeah, depends on where I am. Like, how many people are earwigging on my conversation?
Yeah. But they were like right at the back of the thing. So you don't see anybody else around them, but
it just feels really magical. There's like a European kind of appeal to it, where it's like quite romanticized with going to a city that they don't know, and the music behind it, like the harpsichord at the end, they're just the visuals of Europe.
The cobbled streets, and all that kind of just the architecture and stuff, like when they go into a church and everything. That's like me with, I'm not not that religious at all, to be fair, but I can appreciate the beauty that goes into the craftsmanship of what obviously stained glass windows and just the stonework and everything. It's just like really breathtakingly beautiful.
And I really liked what she said as well. Like she's really spiritual towards things. Yeah. So like how one place can create so much happiness for loads of people. Yeah. But at the same time, grief and misery and sadness. Yes. And it's
that's to do with weddings and funerals and
or even going just to repent, like you've done something wrong or anything like that. Yeah. Or you're praying because you want some help and support. It just shows. And I've never really actually thought of that. So when I'm thinking to myself, like, she's 23 years old, she's quite worldly wise and spiritualized. And I think that's also shown when they go to the graveyard.
Yeah, when she's talking about when she visited, there was this young girl who was Elizabeth, who's 13. And technically she's still 13 because that's the cut-off point of when that's her life ended. Everything. And it's like, it's quite sad when you think about those kind of situations, like
especially when you're the same age. You're like, this person died. She don't have a last name.
Yeah, I kind of made note of that, particularly obviously the name she brought up, because I don't know. I could be completely wrong, kind of thinking how far this is going, but obviously because this is a trilogy, not just a one-off film.
You're thinking a child.
Whether that's going to come back in. In like, they have a child called Elizabeth.
Or maybe. She has a child with somebody else called Elizabeth. You don't know. I don't know if these two actually are going to carry on.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. Because it leaves you with so many open endings.
Yeah, so then I'm thinking of, like, while we're watching this going through, like, I'm maybe overthinking it, like I say, with that. Is that going to be, like, a significant thing that's going to be brought up later on? Like, that, like, a naming a child is quite like potentially an obvious thing that could occur later on within these other two films. So it'll be interesting to see as we go through what kind of comes to light from that. Really, so
let's see if your prediction is correct, shall we?
Yeah. But I was from the get go when obviously on the train, and this older couple who were speaking in German, and was like, "Oh, have we already got subtitles in this? Do we need?"
Yeah, and I just also with them bickering, and there was a line that she said.
Who?
Celine again. Like, I'm only quoting Celine. Jessie doesn't have as many quotable lines in my opinion. Where apparently, as a couple gets older, so we've got to remember this. Where you stop hearing one another, and that's because I think the males stop hearing high pitched noises, and the females, the lower pitched noise goes for them, and then you're just not hearing one another. And she was saying that that's how it happens in a relationship. And I think that's kind of true. Not meaning this in a bad way towards your mum and dad. They did mention about the other week where they were having to cook together. Yeah,
they did. They did mention that like they couldn't. It's not like they were arguing, like throwing pots and pans at each other, but it's kind of like just dad's got a different way of cooking and mum's got a different way of cooking, and so it's like, right, you just get out of the way. I'm gonna just do it my way. You go do something else, kind of thing.
And they kind of were bickering, trying to do it together. Yeah, and it wasn't working. Whereas me and you in the kitchen now cooking together would be quite pleasant. We'd enjoy it. So it's quite funny how, as your age progresses, your tolerance and your patience goes
wears thin. Yeah. So what I'm finding interesting about this is it's almost like I don't know if this is going to be like the starting point. It's like a follow-on continuation for
so
them.
Meet on a train again.
No. I meant like it's like what's to come for them. Obviously, that couple arguing brought them together, and whether that's gonna and eventually it's gonna be them maybe them bickering on the train or just somewhere else at the end, come the end of the trilogy. I don't know. But again, it's another thing to think about when we come down the line.
No, definitely. You know, I will have forgot this part of the time.
I know. Yeah.
So we'll have to refer to his notes when we come back to it, because we're going to be leaving a bit of a chunk.
But he did one of the things that Jessie does say is like the whole thing of like, you know, taking the chance on like going to Vienna with her, her coming to Vienna with him. It's like time travel. It's like you think back to like, oh, what if that opportunity you didn't do that thing. So now I'm kind of like alleviating the
What
heartache down the line when you marry someone else, and you're like,
I think that's just a typical cliche.
Yeah, it's like
a Joey Tribbiani chat up line kind of thing. That's like his charm coming out, and I think he's right in some sense, but also everyone has what if moments.
That's
I think just life.
Yeah, no, we've kind of said this before, I'm sure, on episodes where it's like, what if I was still living down in Birmingham and stuff like that, and those kind of scenarios.
Exactly. And what if we never met, and all of that, really.
But life's put us on this path, and I'm quite happy with that. So,
oh, that's good to know. I'm glad you're happy with your lot. Cheeky. I do like the fact as well, there was one scene where they're talking to each other and they were pretending to be on the phone.
Yes, I do like that. Yeah.
And it's kind of secretly talking about each other, like saying that they like one another in a flirtatious manner, but it's still, all of it's quite sweet and endearing at the same time. It's not like cheesy kind of flirtation, it's all kind of just a little bit of sweet banter, and it just makes it feel like the film is quite raw, and actually they're not acting, you're just watching somebody's love story progress, instead of like the cliche drama rom-coms you get.
No, I get what you mean. Yeah, and it's something that's quite quirky, but in a really good way, a really effective way, and it's like I say, it's not just some stuff you don't really care about. You actually feel their emotions as they're talking about one another, and almost those kind of nuances. You go like, like he's just great and everything, rather than just those kind of sort of things that you might do when you're having a conversation with somebody. Inflections, of like, even though it's like, like that kind of thing.
I know what you're meaning. I do know what you're meaning.
Yeah, so that's good. I kind of liked the. So there's a musical element to it when they go into a record store.
Oh yes, I didn't even know this was a thing where you can have a hearing booth or a listening booth.
Listening booth, yeah. Can't say I've ever really had that aspect of it, but I do remember, just kind of showing my age a little bit, where when I was younger, and my dad used to go into like record shops or CD shops more so, and they had these more independent ones. I think even maybe HMV did, maybe, I don't know, but they had like a stand where they had like top 3 CDs of the week from an artist or whatever, and they'd be on a tower block, and you'd have like a listening booth, but in just a pillar, not like an actual room. It was kind of just like you just stood there,
put the headphones on,
and pressed the play button on the.
I think I've seen those before, but never used one.
But I remember, obviously, when I was a lot younger, I had no like real knowledge of like music or anything. So while Dad was obviously flicking through like racks of CDs and stuff, looking for things, I was kind of like, I don't know what to do, so I kind of just put the headphones on.
Aww.
And like I was kind of obviously listening to music as such, but not like really like. I was kind of just something to do, really.
Yeah.
But it was kind of, I can't really recall any of, like, couldn't tell you, like, a name of what I was listening to, the artist or the album or anything like that, but it was kind of just...
Bless you.
Yeah.
I can imagine cute little Paul just sat there going... Mm-hmm.
But when they're in their booth, they've got, like, a vinyl.
I like the song that comes on.
And the fact that they're kind of, like, in there and like kind of looking at each other like, oh, I want to kiss you, but I don't want to kiss you, and it's like,
and the song's not helping either, because it's like kind of saying all of those kind of things, and they're like looking at one another, and she obviously didn't know what the first track was gonna be, but she's like kind of pretending like, I'm just sat here, stood here listening, and then he's looking, and then when he stops looking, she somehow looks at him, and they're both not aware that they're not getting that moment to look at one another together. Which is just quite sweet, really. Been plenty of times, I know, when we were younger, where I was like, I want Paul to kiss me, but he's not kissing me.
Yeah, I'm sure that's been the case.
Yeah. We were just too shy to both do something about it. There was another line which I think is Jessie. This is when they were in the bar and they're playing is it ping pong? Pinball. He's, obviously, he went to go see what he thought was girlfriend, who had gone travelling. And he thought, and now his ex, and he was a bit devastated that she'd been out for a year and hadn't really missed him, and he'd been still kind of infatuated on her. And obviously, he then kind of mentioned about people hating themselves, and like this comes from, I think they're walking out the street actually, and it says, what's 3 things that could bug me already? Yeah. And she just say like him being cynical about certain things and kind of being a bit of a, what does she call him?
I don't know, something like, not rooster or something.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Something,
a raging rooster or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's like, is this our first fight? Because he kind of sees that he doesn't like himself, basically. He doesn't like his characterisms, and things about himself annoy him. And that's quite interesting because people don't confess that much. Like, no. And it's genuine, really, probably is. Like, if you could probably name 3 things that annoy you about me, and probably they'd be the 3 things that I'd annoy myself.
I think probably in the past I've said, like, you can be a bit too generous, I guess. Yeah. For your own good. Yeah.
That used to hurt me.
Like, please, you feel like you got to please everybody, really, and
make everybody happy.
But it's like, it's just not possible.
No, you're right. Yeah. You are right.
But I've given you one technically, but what's something that annoys you about me?
Oh, we're gonna have an argument after this, people. I would say your lack of patience.
You're right. That's something I do hate about myself. I know full well that I do it. Sometimes I get really agitate quite easily, and like, oh, just why isn't this working or whatever. And it's like I still do it, and it's just like one of the things that's sort of embedded in myself, and it's like that's could be hard to shift that. But yeah.
No, but it is. And the only reason why I don't like it about you is just because I worry that you're getting yourself so het up.
Yeah, I get it.
And then, like, if you were in a car or something and then you had an accident because you got yourself so annoyed.
Sure.
And it's like that kind of thing. Like, I don't want to lose you just because your brain's gone berserk.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
But in the same aspect, I can be too generous that I put everybody else before myself and don't give myself time.
That's what you want, yeah.
And then I get annoyed. So, yeah. Vicious circles, but it's true. And I think this is what's quite interesting at this age to figure out that they know that already about themselves. They're quite intuitive
about themselves, yeah.
He does say that he's a 13-year-old boy, though, and she thinks she's like an old lady, and I did think that was us as well, because you are more like a child.
Man-child
at heart. Yeah. And I'm an
little
soul, yeah. I think that's why we're both drawn together, because you bring the childlike into it and I bring...
Although, I'd say there's childlike aspects of yourself that you're like more like bubbly and like, yeah, Paul, let's go and let's have a dance in the kitchen or whatever. And I'm like, okay. But,
yeah, drag you.
Yeah, things like that. So, yeah, it's. I think that between the two of them, they kind of bring themselves out of one another, really. And see a different angle on life, I suppose.
No, they do. And I think that's what a relationship should be.
Yeah.
100%. So going towards the end, I've got a couple of questions for you. So I'll create the scene. Obviously, Celine is having to get on the train and say goodbye because she needs to go back to Paris because she's studying. And they kind of rushly say, oh, we'll meet back here in like 5 years' time, initially it's said. And they're like, 5 years is so long. Yeah. Then they go like a year. And then they go 6 months. At like 6 p.m. December. Yeah. They don't set a date. They haven't transferred numbers. After 6 months, your life can change and lots of things can happen.
Yeah.
So, Paul Parks, do you think they're going to meet again? Obviously, they will.
Yeah.
But in 6 months' time, do you think that's going to happen? And
how
do you think the next part is going to happen from this?
I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, I want to say that they'll try and. Because it's not like I say, they haven't got any contact with one another. They've only got that to go on, haven't they? They've got to, if either one of them decides, oh yeah, I've got to remember that I've got to go to Vienna at that particular time. And
well, for her, it's only a train journey. Yeah, him, it's a flight. Yeah. So I have a horrible feeling it's going to be a bit like serendipity within this, where it's a chase of a book of a chance of seeing one another again. I don't know if it's going to go down that route. Or that she turns up because it's only a train journey and she waits for him and he's not there.
And then the last minute, it's like she walks off one way and then suddenly he's there and he's like, oh, where is she? Kind of.
Or he doesn't appear at all. He forgets.
Right. But I feel like there's got to be some...
Somehow they bump into one another. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be 6 months' time that they remember. And then that might make the trust and the relationship of the rawness a little bit more difficult and a bit more challenging. I don't know. That's how I
can probably see something like that, but I am kind of excited and intrigued by what these other two have to offer. I think this is a good way as also doing it rather than me knowing exactly what will happen and you being like, what? Paul, tell me what happens.
I know. I was asking you it halfway through, and then I was like, "Oh, I forgot. You actually haven't seen this."
Yeah.
And it was
so
a
I
bit
think it's a good
hard.
experience for both of us. Yeah. To see how in what way the story's going to go for them both.
I in the end, I do hope that they are together. That is something I'd hope, and that they'd maybe die together or whatever. That is how I'd like to see it end. Yep. So the final one that they are, but I feel like the middle one might be a bit more rockier.
Potentially, yeah.
Because no relationship's perfect.
No. That's to say. You have your ups and downs, but as long as the positives outweigh the negatives, then you get...
Don't get me wrong, a couple will argue, they'll disagree.
Yeah.
They will. But as long as it's not every day, then...
Yeah, then
you're alright, are you?
Yeah. It's like Celine brings up, I think, again, more at the beginning, or when they're walking around, about how, like, her grandmother was, like, in a relationship for just because it was on, like, it was convenient.
That kind of reminds me of The Notebook, I guess. Like, more back then, I think the older women had to just kind of go with a man who had a job, who was more wealthy and rich. It didn't mean they loved them.
Yeah.
It was just more like it was convenient and that's the right thing to do to have a good life.
Yeah. Almost like if you've got... You're pregnant, so you have to marry that person, that kind of mentality.
And I think that reminds me of The Notebook because she is wed to a wealthy man, and then Noah is just a man that's working like on a building site or something like that, and they will be poorer, but it's going on your happiness, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's what she was kind of saying, like, that's their what if moment, like, he could always be that. So he was a bit hypocritical when he said that about her grandma. Because he was just the whole reason why he got her out there was because of a what if moment. Yeah. And that's what her grandma had. Yeah. So we're scoring. And you're going first. Oh, I love this.
I was going to say, because obviously you brought up The Notebook. And I remember you gave that a 10.
I love The Notebook.
But I kind of wanted to know, like, based off that, like, whether...
Are you trying to ask me my score before you give a score? Yeah. You can't do that. Why? So you're judging what then you score it on? I can tell you it's not a 10.
No, it is a 10.
What?
It is a 10.
Your score's a 10?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's more of a down to earth story of how a relationship kind of, like the start of a relationship anyway, kind of flows.
You shocked me.
Really?
Yeah. I'm surprised.
Okay. What, because of what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, the genre.
It's not a horror or a slasher or a...
No, well, that's not fair, because I've given La La Land high praise.
That's only because Emma Stone were in it, I swear to God.
The fact that it's almost solely focused on these two characters, and you kind of believe what they've got to say all the way through, and it's just that chemistry they've got, and how it kind of plays out throughout. And obviously, it's initially when we were going through it, thinking like, is it going to almost be like semi-real time? It kind of is, but obviously it's kind of more focusing on the night walk and everything. Yeah, really. But
because the rest of it's kind of traveling and getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's by the by with what that I think it's really solid, and it's really. To be fair, you could almost... I don't know if you think the same way about this, but despite the obviously, 6 months time aspect, leaving it open, if that was just a standalone film, it kind of gives you that, open-ended story, and you make up the decision of whether they do or not. It's kind of like... It kind of bookends it, but doesn't, in a way. So it's kind of like... as an overall package of what it has to offer, it's really, really good. And I do... Despite, obviously, I like horror and all that kind of stuff. There are times when you can just appreciate real quotation marks conversations of what people have to say, and it's believable, and I think they do it very well. And it's not overly sappy. it like some rom-coms might be. It hasn't got like relying too much on like happy music and all that kind of stuff that it's got. So I'm really looking forward to what the other ones have to offer. Whether they'll be 10s is another aspect, but seeing it as this first film and first watch, I'm so glad we've got this experience to watch it together, like first time. What do you think of?
Gosh, no pressure, eh? So, initially for me, I think I'm going to score it at a 9.
Oh,
so...
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that
I really thought because when you said that, I'm thinking, oh, she's not going to say less than what I'm.
No.
Okay.
So, but that's not to change.
Is it because you want to see how the rest of it plays out?
I think so.
Okay.
Because I know there's more to come.
Okay.
I was going to ask you if we're going to be kind of scoring them all individually, and then like at the last one, if we can score it collectively.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
Well.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking that. So at the moment, it's a strong 9. It could get pushed higher.
Okay.
For a rewatch value, I would not say I would not watch that one alone.
Okay.
Not again. I would. It's beautiful and simplistic, and it gives you all the lovely feelings that you want a romance to give you. I think the reason why I'm not scoring it as high as The Notebook is just because I haven't got the full story yet.
Okay. But you think that
it could be a 10 within the
based on what the other ones.
Yeah, because The Notebook gives me, and I think this will, where you've got the connection of them as a young couple. It does give you all of this that it's going to...
I know that's condensed into one film, whereas this
and I think that's why,
chapterized,
at the moment, I'm not attached to them.
Okay.
And The Notebook makes me bawl my eyes out and cry. And I can relate to it.
I get you. Yeah.
That's why this one's only a 9 at the meantime.
Yeah.
But collectively, when we score it, I feel like it will be a 10 altogether, depending on how the rest pan out.
Okay.
But to say the best film we've watched so far this year.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Are you okay with that? Are you sure?
Yeah. I see where you're coming from with that. But I like I just said about how if it was just solely to like,
I think
watch
you
that
would
one and then that's it, and then
appreciate that. Whereas I'd be like, what the hell? You know what I'm like? I want more.
Okay. Okay.
So I wouldn't want it to end like that, because that's just not. I don't like making up my own mind.
Yeah. Okay.
Because, like I said, I'd just go down like this spidergram of different options and never know which one.
Yeah.
Whereas you quite happily could make your own mind up from it.
Well, interestingly, like, from the time that this was released, which was 1995, Before Sunset, the follow-up, came out in 2004. So that's quite a big gap. So if you're thinking, obviously, like, for people who would have obviously seen this film initially, they're waiting...
Even longer.
A lot longer.
Is it 9 years or something?
95 to 2004. What's
10? No, 9 years.
9 years.
Yeah.
Right. 9 years of waiting for a sequel to.
But then they need to age, don't they? The characters, if they're using the same actors.
Oh yeah, no.
They need to age, because that's the whole idea of it. Unless they're going to do makeup on them. But
normally you might do it like just a year or two,
or different actors,
and that would. I know, not saying different actors, but I mean in just how doing it so that they've got. Oh yeah, because they did say 6 months. So unless the story is like, oh, it actually was longer than 6 months.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's the reasoning behind doing that, and then they've aged. Yeah, it could well be. But I guess we'll see
in the summertime.
In summertime, yeah. Yeah, so something to look forward to. Yeah, no, and also like when I think about other things you've given 10s for, like Licorice Pizza, when you've re-evaluated that as a second rewatch, you said that you would.
Yeah.
You've done that. So.
I think it's not going to not be a 10.
Yeah.
But I just want to know the whole story.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Okay. Great.
Right. So thank you very much for listening to this episode. And if you would like to listen to some of our other episodes, you can do so over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts from.
And if you want to follow us on social media, if you haven't already, you can do so on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram under the handle SP_filmviewers. We also have us amazing Patreons, which Paul will announce. I'll go first. Let's spice it up and go. My mum. Right, that one's out of the way.
Over to me, right. So, yes, we've got our Patreon page where you can support us with £1 or $1.50 a month, and you get a shout out, like I'm going to do for these remaining people. And also you get to vote on a movie once a month for us to watch. So those people who have already joined the family are Mark from 100 Things We Learned from Film, Ben from Film Vloggers, both very good film review podcasts. You should go check them out.
100%, yeah, definitely do.
And our friend Jones, who is at Weight Loss Jonesy on Instagram. So all you need to do to sign up is go to patreon.com/SP Film Viewers. And lastly, if you would be so kind as to go and leave a 5-star review on our show over on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, and wherever else they do the scoring system, that'd be very much appreciated as well.
Yeah, so I hope everyone's enjoyed our little ramble about our relationship and a film that we've watched, because I feel like that's what we've done. Does
Criterion done a good job here? Then?
Yes.
So far.
Yeah. Obviously, you just gave it a 10 because it was Criterion. But yeah, I've enjoyed it, so I hope everybody else has enjoyed it. And if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
No, I do recommend it, even if it was just that one film, if you like an open-ended aspect to a film. So thank you very much for listening, and we will speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time.
Bye.
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 Bye.